Are you coming across this channel for the first time? My name is Grace. In this channel, we share sewing tips, pattern drafting, and DIY. So please consider subscribing, like, and share this video. Without further ado, let's get into this video. By the way, this is one off-shoulder dress we are to make. So let's get started. I'm going to fold my material into two, and after folding I'm going to check if I have up to a hip measurement plus 3 inch. I've already marked my 1 inch down. That is my starting point. I'm marking the hip point now, which is 9 inches. The length of this skirt is 25 inch plus 3 inch for sewing allowance. I'm going to connect it now with a straight line. I'm dividing our hip circumference, quarter of our hip circumference, plus 2 inch. I also divide quarter of our waist measurement plus 3 inch. Reason why I'm adding 3 inch at the waist area is because of the dart. So if you are not putting that, make sure you add 2 inch. I measure what I have at the hip. I'm placing it at the knee, the minus 1.5 inch from that measurement. After that, I'm going to connect it. I'm cutting it out. I'm going to use this front piece as a pattern to get my back piece. The only difference between the front and the back is this zipper allowance. So the center bar need to be open because of this zip that will attach, zip and the slits, yeah, will attach to this dress. You can cut it together. I'm opening the zip region now. I'm also going to place it on top of my material to cut out the lining. For the lining, we are going to try as possible as we can to make it a little bit shorter than the main piece by marking the allowance, the skirt length. By marking the skirt length, not the allowance. That this line we are marking is where our lining will stop. That is the length of our lining. For the back, we are also going to repeat that same process we carry out on our front piece at our back piece. After that, we will cut it out. This is how it's supposed to look like. The lining need to be shorter than the main piece. So if you are a total beginner, you need to label this lining, the upper part and the lower part, so that you don't get confused. I'm going to place it right side facing each other. I will stitch the hemline with ½ inch or less than ½ inch. Look at what I have here. I stitch it with less than ½ inch because there is no really need. It's simply turning your material with lining. I'm flipping it upward and I'm going to stitch this side, be making sure that the waistline align. I'm stitching this side by less than ½ an inch. So we are moving on to the half length now. I place my front piece on top of my back piece, marking my zip allowance, so that after finishing with my front piece I will know where my zip starts. I'm marking my starting point now and I will connect it with a straight line. Our bust point measurement is 10, under bust 18, our waist 16 plus 1 inch for stitching allowance. Also repeat the same measurement this side so that we can have one straight line, and after that we'll connect. From the folded edge I mark 4 inch up to the shoulder line, and from this 4 inch point I mark, I'm marking 2 inch. This 2 inch I will mark it up to the under bust point, then I will connect it with a straight line. I'm going to curve this part like this. Making use of my pattern master, I will curve it like this. You can use hand to do it, so it's simple. Starting from that folded edge, the front piece I'm marking a shoulder measurement plus 1 inch for sewing allowance and 1 inch for ease, and from the bust point I'm connecting it to that 1 inch for sewing allowance, and from that same bust point I'm connecting it back to the 1 inch for ease allowance. I'm also checking out those measurements at my back piece so that I will not repeat the same measurement again when I pick up my front piece. Now I'm cutting it out. Guys, please pay attention to the way I'm going to cut it out. I also extend the lines on my zip region to make it obvious. I'm marking 4 inch, starting from the zip allowance, not the folded edge. I mark 4 inch. I'm going to extend it up to the shoulder line. And I'm also going to mark 2 inch like this. I'm marking 2 inch. This time around, the 2 inch will get to the bust point. Unlike the front piece, it's stuck on at under bust. This one will get to the bust point, and I connect it with a straight line like this. I'm going to check again if my shoulder measurement at this back piece is accurate. I'm going to connect that bust point, from that bust point to that 1 inch for sewing allowance, and this 2 inch I'm going to connect it to the east allowance like this, not like the front piece. Yes, you see, and we are done. We are going to cut it out. Moving on to the next step of our dressmaking, we are stitching it in. We are placing our front piece, our side front piece, and our center front piece together. We stitch starting from the waist to the under bust, and when we get to the under bust, we are going to bring it out, flip it to the other side, and we are going to start from the shoulder line by 1 inch, and when we get to this curved side, we'll reduce the seam allowance to ½ inch, just like the way we started with ½ inch sewing allowance. For the back, we are also going to stitch starting from the waist up to the shoulder measurement. For the back, it's very simple to stitch from the waist to the shoulder without stopping, because it does not have this curve, this breast curve on it. So I'm done doing that. I also stitch by ½ inch. When I get to the part that curve side for the back, I also increase the seam allowance to almost 1 inch. So I'm placing it back, making sure that the dot line are aligned. So I place my tape on the under bust point, which is 13 inch. I'm marking the 0 point. I'm also marking an armhole point like this. After that, I'm dividing our shoulder measurement into 2 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I'm going to, before I curve, let me input my bust measurement. I'm dividing my bust into 4. Look at the way I bend the tape. I'm going to bend it again. I divide it into 4. I'm going to place it and add 2 inch for stitching allowance, or you can use your phone to calculate. If for instance now your bust is 35, you divide 35 into 4. What you get, you mark. I'm also dividing our under bust into 4. You can bend the tape like this, you see, into 4. I add 2 inch for sewing allowance. Also at the waist, I'm going to input quarter over waist measurement plus 2 inch for sewing allowance. So I'm connecting it now. Placing back the tape at the 13 inch mark, I'm marking the 0 point so that I will be able to shape out, my shoulder out like this. Placing it back again on 13 inch point, I'm marking a neckline, and for the width of the neckline I will use 3 inch, and for the depth of the neckline I'm going to use 3 inch for both the front and the back. The neckline are going to be the same because this is one side shoulder dress. Moving on to the back piece, I'm also marking my 3 inch mark and also my 3 inch mark as the depth. I use 3 inch, so I'm marking it like this. I'm also going to mark the armhole measurement. So I'm dividing our bust into 4 plus 2 inch for stitching allowance. Also at the waist measurement, I will divide our waist into 4 plus 2 inch for sewing allowance. We will also repeat the same at the waist measurement. So after this we are going to cut it out. I also notch my zip point. I'm opening my center back piece now because it needs to be open because of the zip. Guys, I forgot to tell you, when stitching you need to stitch with a loose stitch because we still need to loosen it back, and because I make it with a loose stitch, it's very simple to loosen back. So we are taking it again to our sewing machine. This time around we are going to join it as an individual. We are going to join it the normal way that we're supposed to sew it. Like this. So I'm still joining it with loose stitch because I want to trim the side that is off shoulder, I label my work right and left. So I'm marking 5" downward, and that is how low my off shoulder will be. So I blend it back to the neckline, and from the 5" at the armhole side, I'm cutting it out. The shoulder, because it's going to be a puff sleeve, the shoulder is too much. I have to reduce it. I want that gathers part to sit on her shoulder, not to fall down, not to be falling out. I'm marking 1" and I'm blending it to the side space. I'm going to cut it out. The reason why I'm doing this is to remove any zipper bulge. I want the back of this dress to remain flat on our body, so I still reduce less than ½ inch at the zip region. Doing all these things is very important, guys. If not, after attaching your zip, you end up having excess. So in order to avoid that excess at the zipper region, you need to carry out this process I'm doing. So after that, I'm marking it again, the new zipper allowance, and I notch. I'm loosening out my work now. Please, guys, this time around you need to be very careful the way you are loosening it, because the material was sewn separate. Too much, so take your time and loosen it. It's very simple. And after this, I'm going to use it as a pattern to cut my main piece. For the main piece, I've ironed my a stay on it. I also use a wadding to pat my breast region, I mean. So I'm going to stitch it back. This time around, we are stitching it with a very tight stitch, because we are not loosening it again like this. So I'm done doing that. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to notch it all around and cut it. And after notching, I'm going to place my work right side facing to stitch the neckline by ½ inch. I'm also going to attach my back piece like this, line and main piece to main piece, and after that I'm notching it like this. So I'm notching it out. I will take it to my ironing table and iron that seam allowance open. Yes, I'm back. So I'm going to place it right side facing. I'm stitching that neckline by 0.5 into top stitch on the lining. After that, I'm closing the two sides with less than ½ inch. So when I flip it to the right side, this is what I have. It's looking beautiful. I'll also repeat my back piece. This is the part that has the shoulder. I'm stitching the neckline like that, flip it and top stitch. This is the part that will be off shoulder. I'm going to stitch the neck like this, flip it and top stitch. So I'm flipping it to the right side. You can notch out, trim off this pointy edge like this for this part that has no shoulder. That's no shoulder. It will have, yes, it has no shoulder, right? I'm placing it like this, facing each other, following the direction of that notch part for our zip. We are going down with that zipper allowance that we left. And after stitching, this is what we don't worry for this shoulder side. I don't stitch it down, I'll actually pin it. So put my front piece, the shoulder of my front piece in between my back piece, then I will use the lining and this and stitch it down. The front piece is going to be in between piece, the main piece and the lining of the back piece, and I will stitch it down. Our bust span measurement for this skate part, which is 4 inches of this, that I'm going to make use of 5 inch. For the, so I'm actually going to pin it by that point. Mark it here without measuring it again. So this is the length at that point. So I'm going to, I'm going to take half inch on both sides like this. If you are a total beginner, you can mark it out. Mark it from this bust point. Take in both sides. So moving on to my back. At this hip point, I mark 1 inch at 1.5. At the nail, I will mark 1.5. Only at the hip that I will mark 1 inch. Reason is because it's for the bum. It fits nicely if you do. So I'm going to stitch it from the waist to the this hip point with each, because I will loosen it and attach my skate. This hip point down to my slit where I will happen. I'm going to make it a tie stitch. At the skate, go up by 7 inch, and that will be your slit. So moving on to the upper part now. So with this front piece, I'm going to half of our bust circumference, half of our bust circumference, and I will mark it, and also measure the measurement. I divide it into 2 and mark it, and I'm also going to repeat the same at the waist. Half of our waist circumference, I mark it, and also measure part of it, I mark it, so that each part will go to each side. Flip it, see each other. I'm going to tap on it this way. Is very simple if you do it this way. I'm going to tap on it. That, you see, reflected on the other side, so I'm going to make it very obvious. So this is the simplest way of dress, and I'm going to the machine and stitch it those lines I chop. So to stitch down the scale like this, I mark my zero stop. So mark out on my front. So I measure half over here like this. I'm going to fold that baby, and what I have left to mark on this side. What I have left, I will mark on this side. I also measure our waist region. I mark it. I'm also going to measure the remaining. I'm also going to measure the remaining part of it, and I mark it like this. I'm going to connect from the hip to the waist like this. But by so doing, that same measurement on the other side. By so doing, you also allow the measurement we divided into 2 to be on the other side. So I'm going to measure what I have at this hip side, the nail, and I will connect. After that, I'm going to flip it wrong side facing, and I'm tapping on
join my upper part and my
tapping
lower
on
part
it.
together.
I want the
I make sure I
reflect on this side, and
I make
I
sure
will,
I
after that I'm going to chalk to bring it obvious.
and
After that, place your back front piece together and shape it out following this chalk mark, okay?
Together.
So now I want to attach the upper part together.
I will pin it. I'm going to pin it. I will also match the dart line together, the dart, the side seam too. I'm mashing them together. Mashing it together. And also the dart at the back, you ensure that it's the same. You mash it together. And guys, if you shape your dress very well, you end up having the same thing. Even if you have shortest at the upper part, that could be because of the small trimming that we make at this zipper region, so it's not going to be so obvious. And after joining, guys, see what we are, very beautiful, and all the line have aligned, and that is what we're going for. I also measure again to check if I have the accurate measurement. I wish I did. I placed the tape, though it was not captured. I marked the armhole point, which is 8 inch, and I curve it and I'm cutting it out. After cutting, we'll work on our sleeve. We are going to work first on this sleeve that have shoulder. So, and before we do that, when taking the dress to the machine as shown, I'm going to attach the zip. So, and for the sleeve, the total width of my sleeve is 45 inch while the length is 14 inch. I'm going to run a gather stitch at the up. I can choose any side to be the up or down. Yeah, one side I have run a gather stitch, and the other side I've make a elastic casing. Measure around your elbow measurement as shown and minus 3 inch from that measurement, and use that to cut your elastic and insert the elastic inside the elastic casing. Okay, so after that, ensure that you tack your elastic, the 2 2 try and tack it. I'm pinning it, but I will tack it later so that it will not lost inside. I'm making a gathers here. After then, I will show you what to do next. Yes, I bring back my dress and measure to see if I have up to the round armhole measurement. It's too small, so I'm losing my gathers a little so that it will align with the armhole measurement. After that, I mash it together, the side seam together, and notch the center. I'm placing the center on top of the dress, and I'm going to loosen the armhole small in order to be able to attach the sleeve, which I've done. So you can see, so I'm bringing it back at the wrong side. I'm going to tack those elastic as shown. After tacking, I will close the side seam down to my dress, and that will be all for this side. Okay. It's looking beautiful already. It's very simple to do. So for this part that has no shoulder, I go in by 2 inch. I also went down by 3 inch, and I connect those points, and I'm cutting it out. After that, we are going to work on our sleeve. In this part of the sleeve, we are going to do something slightly different from the first one. So I'm going to reduce the length of the sleeve. Yeah, this is actually 14. I'm reducing it because this is the part that will be off shoulder. So guys, please, the mistake I make in this sleeve is that I reduce it by 3 inches. So when you want to do that, please reduce it by 1.5. I did not remember that this elastic is going to chuck in more material because I'm going to put at the upper and at the lower part like this. So folding the material at equal length, I'm folding in 1.5 inch, which will be the elastic at the upper part like this. I'm placing the dress on top of the sleeve. I trim out the armhole. So I'm going to go and grade my elastic casing for both the up and the down. Remember, in the other hand of the sleeve, we make gathers at the top, but this one is different. Even at the top, we are going to make elastic casing, which is what I'm doing right now. For the elastic that I will use at the upper part, I'm going to minus half inch from half of our shoulder measurement. Our shoulder measurement is 15. Half of it is 7.5. So I minus half inch from it, and I'm fixing in the elastic now. While at the down, we still repeat that same measurement that we have at the elbow measurement. So I'm placing it now right side to right side. I will stitch it down like this. I will also stitch this side like this. And while we'll be on top of the machine, we are going to push in the excess of the zip down and stitch it down. Okay, we are done doing that, and look at it. It's very beautiful, very, very beautiful. So after that, we are going to use this hemming gum to iron this slit area. After ironing, you can choose to tack it if that is what you want. After tacking, and that will be all for this dress. Thank you so much for watching. Till I see you in my next video. Bye.